A very good morning, children. Today in Maths, we are going to learn a new chapter, chapter 4, that is multiplication. So what is multiplication? Multiplication is the repeated addition of the same number. We have already learned what is addition, right? So what is addition? We add 4 plus 5, 2 plus 2, etc. But here, repeatedly when the same number comes, that when we add, that is multiplication. So multiplication is the repeated addition of the same number. Here we have 4 plus 4 plus 4 is equal to 12. So how can we find out? 4 plus 4 is 8 and 8 plus 4 is 12. Here you can see the same number repeated again and again. So that is repeated addition. In this picture, you can see on a mango tree, 4 monkeys are sitting. In their hand, they have mangoes. Now we have to find out how many mangoes are there in total. So let's find out. 3 monkeys are collecting mangoes from a tree. Another monkey joins them. So at first only 3 monkeys were there. And then another monkey joins them. Now how many monkeys are there? 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. Now there are 4 monkeys. All 4 monkeys have the same number of mangoes. The mangoes are equally grouped. Now they have mangoes in their hand and all the 4 monkeys have equal number of mangoes in their hand. So how many mangoes are there? With the first monkey, they have 3. So the first monkey has 3 mangoes, second monkey has 3 mangoes, third monkey has 3 mangoes and the fourth monkey also is having 3 mangoes. Now how can we find out? 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. The number 3 is repeating again and again. How many times it repeated? 4 times. So there are 4 monkeys and each one is having 3 mangoes. So it's repeating 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And what is the answer? It is 12. Here we have stars. So let's count them. In the first group, you can see 3 stars. Second group, again you can see 3 stars. Third group, you can see 3 stars. And fourth group, you can see 3 stars. So there are total 4 groups. And in each group, there are 3 stars. So we can write it as 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is equal to 12. So this is repeated addition, adding the same number over and over again. In this picture, you can see some cherries. And how many groups are you able to see? There are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups. And each group, here in the first group, you can see 2 cherries. Second group, again 2 cherries. Third group, 2 cherries. Fourth group also 2 cherries. So we have total 4 groups and the number 2 is repeating again and again. So how can we write this? 2 cherries in each group. And there are 4 groups. So 4 times 2. 2 is repeating 4 times. So the total number is 8. So 4 times 2 is equal to 8. Or you can say that 4 groups of 2 is equal to 8. So how can we write that in repeated addition? 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to, how can we find out? First 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. And what is the answer? It is 8. So there are total 8 cherries. Here in this picture, you can see 3 cakes. So how many? We can group them into 3. First group, second group, third group. And on each cake, you can see some candles. How many candles? You can see 5 candles. So on the first cake, 5. Second cake, 5 candles. Third cake, 5 candles. So what can we do? We have to find out total number of candles. How can we write this? We can write this. 5 candles in each group. That is in the first group 5, second group 5, third group 5. There are total 3 cakes. So we can write that as in repeated addition 5 plus 5 plus 5 is equal to, how can we find out? 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. 10 plus 5 is equal to 15. So how many candles are there total? There are 15 candles. So we can say that 5 times 3, that is the candles 5 times it came. So 3 is equal to 15. Or we can write it in multiplication as 5 into 3 is equal to 15. That is 5 candles and 3 groups. So we can write it as 5 into 3 is equal to 15. This sign, we write it as X, is a sign of multiplication, but we read it as into. So we can say that 3 into 4, 5 into 5, 2 into 2. That is the symbol used for multiplication. Here we can see 5 plus 5 plus 5 is equal to 15. That we have written in the repeated addition form. Or we can say that 3 times 5. So 5 repeated 3 times and the answer is 15. Or we can say that 3 groups of 5, that is also 15. So we can write it as 3 into 5 is equal to 15. Here the number 3 is called the multiplicand. The first number is the multiplicand and the second number is the multiplier, and the answer which we get after multiplying is called the product. So when we say the product, that is the answer of the multiplication. Let's take another example. We have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. That is written in the repeated addition form. So what is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3? First we will add the first two numbers. 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. 6 plus 3 is equal to 9 and 9 plus 3 is equal to 12. So we got the answer 12. The same repeated addition we can write in the multiplication form. How can we do that? There are 4 3's, right? So first write the number 4. Count the number of 3's here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 3's into, that is the sign of multiplication. And which number repeated? The number 3 has been repeated. So we can write it as 4 into 3 is equal to 12. And here the number 4 is the multiplicand, the number 3 is the multiplier, and the answer we got 12. That is called the product. Let's take another example. Here we have 2 plus 2 plus 2. So what is the answer? For calculating, first I take the two numbers. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. This is written in the repeated addition form. So how can we write it in the multiplication form? First see how many 2's are there. There are 3 2's. So 1, 2, 3. So first write the number of 2's. We have 3 2's and then put the symbol 3 into which number repeated? The number 2 repeated. So we can write it as 1, 2, 3. 3 2's, 3 into the number 2. We get the answer 6. And in this 3 into 2 is equal to 6. The number 3 is the multiplicand, the number 2 is the multiplier, and the answer that we got is called the product. Here you can see 4 apples, and how many groups are there? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups are there, and in each group there is only 1 apple. So how can we write this? We can write it as 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. That is in the repeated addition form. So how much do you get? 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3 and 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. Now we have to write this in multiplication form. How can we write this? We have 4 groups. So write the 4 first, then the symbol for multiplication, 4 into, and in each group how many are there? 1. So we can write it as 4 into 1 is equal to 4. Let's take another example. Here in this picture you can see some pears. How many groups are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups are there, and in each group there are 2 pears. So we have to calculate the total number of pears. So first let's write that in the repeated addition form. So here 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. The total is 8. And so here 2 is repeated 4 times. So we can write this addition as 2 into 4 is equal to 8. Let's check the repeated addition form and how to write it in the multiplication form. The number 5 plus 5, it is in the form of repeated addition and the answer is 5 plus 5 is 10. So how can we write that in the multiplication form? How many 5s are there? First calculate. There are 1, 2 5s. 1, 2. So write the number 2 first and put the symbol into, and then which number has been repeated? 5 has been repeated. So write it as 2 into 5 is equal to 10. We get the same answer if we do it in the repeated addition form and in the multiplication form. Here 5 plus 5 is equal to 10, and in the multiplication how did we write it? 2 into 5 is equal to 10. Let's take another example. Here we have 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. So how many 2's are there? There are 6 2's. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 2's are there. So how can we write it? First write that there are 6 2's. And which number has been repeated? The number 2 has been repeated. So we can write it as 6 into 2 is equal to 12. Now here the multiplication form is given. Before the repeated addition form was given and we made it into the multiplication form. Now the multiplication form is given, we have to make it into the repeated addition form. First let's take 2 into 3. It is in the multiplication form. So 2 into 3 is equal to 6. How can we write this in the repeated addition form? So 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. That is 3 has been repeated 2 times. So we can write it as 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. The next one, 7 into 1 is equal to 7. So we have to write it in the repeated addition form. 1 has been repeated 7 times. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 7. So this is how we can change the repeated addition into multiplication, and similarly multiplication form into the repeated addition form. In your text, page number 44, we have the practice coach. So you can open your text. We can see the questions there. Write multiplication facts for the following repeated additions. So it has been given in the repeated addition form and we need to write it into the multiplication form. So the first one, we have repeated addition. The question is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 12. So find out how many times 2 has been repeated and which number has been repeated? The number 2. So the number 2 has been repeated 6 times. So write 6 into 2 is equal to 12. The B, first one, B, repeated addition form is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 is equal to 28, and we have to write this in the multiplication form. So find out the number 4, how many times it has been repeated, and calculate it by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times 4 has been repeated. So write the number 7 into 4. The number 4 has been repeated. So it is 7 into 4 is equal to 28. Moving on to the second question. Write repeated additions for the following multiplication facts. Here the multiplication fact has been given and we have to write the repeated addition form for this. The first question, A, 2 into 7 is equal to 14. So how can we write this in the repeated addition form? Here the number 7 has been repeated 2 times. So we can write it as 7 plus 7 is equal to 14. The second one, B, multiplication 4 into 2 is equal to 8. So the multiplication form is 4 into 2 is equal to 8, and we have to write it in the repeated addition form. For that, you can write that 2 has been repeated 4 times. So how can we write it? 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 8. Now we have max around us in the text. So you can look into your text. Abhinav is a smart kid. He studies well, respects elders and plays different games. So it's about Abhinav and he's very smart. He studies well, he respects his elders and also plays different types of games. He has the habit of observing, reading signboards, observing traffic symbols on roads, counting objects, etc. So he has a habit of reading. Whenever he's going on the way, if he observes the traffic signals, signboards and all, he has the habit of reading it. Once he went to a movie with his parents. At the parking lot, he counted the number of cars parked. So when he went for a movie, he saw a large number of cars parked there. A man there was issuing a token and collecting rupees 10 for every car parked. So a man was collecting rupees. For each car, he was collecting rupees 10. Abhinav quickly counted the number of cars parked and found out the total money collected by the man. Abhinav found that there are 15 cars in the parking lot and that person at the parking would have collected 15 into 10 is equal to rupees 150. So he saw 15 cars were there in the parking ground and for each car the man was issuing rupees 10 token. So he found out by calculating it how much money did he get. So how did he do? He took the number of cars and for each car the number of the money that was taken. So he got it as 15 into 10 that is equal to rupees 150. Count the number of hours you spend every day in your school. Count the number of days you go to school in a week. Now find out the number of hours you spend at school in a week. So here the question is to find out how much time you spend at school. Here you are not coming to school, so you can calculate the number of hours you spend at home for studying. So each day how much hours you spend for studying and in a week how much hours total you spend. So how can you calculate? If in a day you are studying for 2 hours, how many days are there in a week? There are 7 days. So calculate it as 2 into 7. Similarly, you can do this. Moving on to the next page, 45, we have fill in the blanks. A dash bunches of dash grapes each. We have 6 bunches of grapes. Now we have to write it in the repeated addition form and in the multiplication form. So we can write it, calculate how many bunches are there and in each bunch how many grapes are there. So by calculating you can find out that there are 6 bunches of 6 grapes each. And how can we write it in the repeated addition form? We can write it as 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. So 6 times 6 repeated. Find out the answer. 6 plus 6, then 12, 12 plus 6, 18. Find out the answer like this and write it down. And similarly, you write the multiplication form also. How can we write the multiplication form? 6 times 6 repeated. So 6 into 6 is equal to 36. Moving on to B, dash groups of dash girls each. So you have 3 pairs, 3 groups of girls you can see, and in each group you can see 2 groups of girls. So how can we write this in a repeated addition form? You can write it as 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to, find out the answer. And then the multiplication, you can write it as 3 into 2 is equal to, write the answer there. So that's all for today. Hope you understood what is repeated addition. We'll be meeting in the next class. Till then, thank you.